It's the morning of the 3rd of May. I almost said March. 2016. I know yesterday's video I said 2015, whatever the hell that was all about. And I know I put up these little short videos, A Beautiful Girl by Dana, most times before I live stream. We won't be doing that no more. It's not that it's too much work, it's just we'll be live streaming on YouTube. Starting hopefully tomorrow. So I'll be doing live streams today. Not live streams, but tests today. And see if I can get live stream. My account at livestream, DanaDurnford.com, streaming same time as YouTube. I know 6 months trying to get other sites up and running, but I think I already know YouTube really well. So first off, I want you to hear Fukushima media. Why I say media is despicable, because this one is coast to coast radio. I'll just bring it up for a bigger screen in case you want to read it or write it down or something. When technology fails, and the author's name was supposed to be in that picture. Matt Stein. It sounds like Steinbeck. Hear it coming up here in a second. So here we go. Let's play that. It's only a 1 minute, less than a minute and a half. But this is the problem. I'll explain that in a second. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Matthew Stein.
Up next, Matt Stein back with us, author of When Technology Fails and When Disaster Strikes as well, 2 separate books, as we talk about preparedness and some other stories that, well, just may chill you. Next on Coast to Coast AM.
A reactor can run roughly a year on a fuel supply.
And they put new fuel in, right?
And they put new fuel in. So, but they put in like well over a ton of fuel. Like in the first bomb that blew off.
Okay, hang on. Let me explain that one. So the reactor has 3,840 of fuel assemblies. Each assembly is around 1,500 pounds. But each assembly has 80 rods. Each rod is 18 pounds and 12 feet long. So it's around 5 million pounds per cycle. And the cycles are 18 months to 2 years. But this is the problem. Now, Coast to Coast Radio, I can't remember, like 500 million people listening to them. So they're putting out this propaganda machine that there's... And so in comparison to Chernobyl, where they emit 10 tons is gone, they're implying very tiny amounts have got out, right? Keep going.
Hiroshima. That was like a pound of uranium in one and a pound of plutonium.
Right, and see how we reinforced it by talking about Hiroshima, where the bomb was a pound. 1 pound. Where the reactors had 5 million pounds on the roof in each of the fuel pools. Every 18 months, at each reactor is 5 million pounds plus 280-something thousand rods. You can do the numbers.
The other. We have like a ton of fuel.
Ton of fuel, eh?
in a reactor core.
Each assembly is 1,500 pounds or so.
In every 13, 16 months,
or
they swap that out. And they put new fuel in, and the old fuel has to be stored. Now, there are some programs that recycle fuel and reprocess it, but in many cases they found that that's more expensive than just mining more uranium and putting new fuel in.
So, for starters, when you mine uranium, you hear them talking about there's this much tonnage of uranium, but they can't use that in the typical reactors using the extracts, 235, and it's just this whole process to get to that point. So when you take it out of the ground, you can't just take it and pump it into a reactor like you're shoving coal into a train, It doesn't work that way. You got to extract out of that uranium, natural uranium, 238, refine that down, and it's about 400 train car loads to get a gram. So it's too dangerous to try to reclaim the uranium, reclaim the plutonium from the spent fuel. And the biggest production of the spent fuel is curium, and 10,000 other isotopes. where we have 160 in nature. And so let's finish the last part of that.
And if these pools go dry, the newer rods will start burning up. The really old rods won't burn up. They'll just...
Oh, there's a whopper, 2 whoppers in a row. He got books out there, though. He must know something. But the host actually knows better. You can go look through the host record and you'll see he's done many interviews. He knows how much fuel is there. Well, he knows it's not 1,000 pounds a cycle. Or 2,000 pounds a cycle a ton. So the old rods are much more volatile. That's why they're kept in the fuel pools for a decade. But that's what I mean. The media is pumping out these shitheads, these freaks of nature, these destructive, maniacal crazies that get a paycheck to come out and trick and deceive and muddle that water beyond any kind of comprehension.
Be extremely radioactive, and anything around them can get into the...
Anything around them can get into the environment except for the spent fuel rods. No, they can't catch fire. No. And he says the other ones are catching fire because they got a zirconium cladding. What do you think, that disappeared? What do you think is holding all the pellets in there? The rods are 18 pounds, they're full of pellets inside a zirconium rod. Zirconium was, when they used it in the old days, in the 1940s, 30s, where they took the picture and had the big flash. That was zirconium. That was one of the nastiest tricks you can do. They must have hated photographers an awful lot back in those days to let them use that. Because they all died a vicious death, breathing that stuff in all the time. And then everybody around them, they're indoors taking those pictures, contaminating those buildings. Shocking, man. The whole history of nuclear is predicated upon being predators, vultures, and parasites, and telling you it's like a banana or a potato chip or walking in the sunshine. Now, that was Coast to Coast Radio, one of the biggest medias on the planet. Talked about Fukushima many times. Never, ever got it right. And like nuclear never has an opposition. There's never another, well, no, actually it's dangerous. No, it's like a banana. That's all you're allowed to have there. You have a whole panel of idiots that are not idiots, that are extraordinarily educated, unbelievable. I'm just going to run you through John Boyce again. It's a 2-minute intro of his degrees and the things that he do, right, about radiation and the boards that he's on and everything else. But this is a man who says he got more radiation flying to Tokyo than he did right alongside the reactor. And that's all you would get too. And that he's partners in crimes where they never have a debate. They always got a panel of idiots that are extraordinarily educated and they're there to lie to you. But just let me explain John Boyce.
My name is John Boyce. I'm professor of medicine at Vanderbilt University and also the president-elect of the National Council on Radiation Protection and Measurements. And I'm a radiation epidemiologist. My entire career, I've studied populations all over the world exposed to ionizing radiation, including Chernobyl cleanup workers, medical populations, workers, underground miners. I'm one of the delegates to the United Nations Scientific Committee on the Effects of Atomic Radiation, and we're reviewing the Fukushima situation now. I'm also on the main commission of the International Commission on Radiological Protection, where we have a task force where we're also trying to evaluate the lessons learned from the Fukushima circumstances. I'm also on the Veterans Advisory Board for dose reconstruction, which also is involved in providing some oversights and thoughts on our U.S. military that were around Fukushima and help with the recovery.
So the veterans, the military, United Nations, all of these boards, institutions, universities, sitting professor. This is some of the stuff they say. Smoking is like 14 cigarettes a day is the same as Fukushima, or eating 25 cups of peanut butter. Or spending 20 days in New York is the same as Fukushima, man-made ionizing radiation. Like, it's beyond imagination, 600 kilometers in the car. That's what his partner in crime was saying. But here's what he said. Watch this.
A natural expression of cancer epidemiology and risk, okay?
Right. No, that was an excellent overview, and of course your doses are just too low. Something too on the meter, just to mention, even though I spent all this time right next to the reactors, I received more radiation on my transcontinental flights from Tokyo to Washington than I did at the reactor site, so I tried to use that.
I received more radiation. Everybody giggles. That's the press club. Gonna write articles to teach your friends and your families and your loved ones that he got more radiation by flying there than he did. Incapable of telling the truth, incapable of telling the story, incapable of investigating the story, incapable of having someone there and say, hey, wait a second. Incapable, but very capable of deceiving you, very capable of finding his way through an education all the way up to the top of the food chain to lie to you, to manipulate you, to set policies to kill you and your friends and your families and your loved ones, to direct your communities, to direct your country, to direct your sovereignty, to direct your economics with this hideous monster known as nuclear. So he can make a paycheck and sit there and giggle like a big ball, like a big fucking beach ball. And he's a sitting professor manipulating, molding students. Coast telling you there's a ton in a reactor. James Hansen's out there telling you he got more radiation flying across America than anybody did from 3 Mile Island. My cigarettes don't got 7,000 chemicals in it. Think about that one. Mine don't. Yours do. Because you didn't try to get cigarettes. It's really hard to do that, to find tobacco, natural tobacco. But how come the same media doesn't tell you that? Do they even know it? Do they even care? Are they just there to pump out whatever the puke machine says? Is there no such thing as a journalist anymore? Apparently so. Is there anything in the mainstream media that qualifies as a journalist? Apparently not. Every one of them supported the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, where there's 5 million orphans that get 10,000 Taliban, where they fired 5.5 million rounds a month. Every month for 9 years, they get 10,000 Taliban. Where they raped 29,000 military people each year for 9 years. 290,000 rapes to get 10,000 Taliban. Where there's 22 veterans committing suicide every day for 9 years to get the same 10,000 Taliban. That's 80,000 people. Where there's millions dead, millions missing, millions in refugee camps, millions unaccounted for, millions impoverished, millions starving, entire countries destroyed directly. The whole system is destroyed. And then they had burn pits throughout the country. They fired 5.5 million rounds. A lot of that was depleted uranium rounds from McAllister's bomb manufacturer. What's theirs here? A year later. We have jet streams. They're actually real. I know that's a shock. But what's the real shock is that the media is somehow morally able to talk about everything else and flush it out and bring in left and right, but can't do that. And if they do it, it's a seed. It's some moron that they can mock and ridicule, and someone that is bought and paid for by the industry. If they actually did it, I can't find evidence of media ever holding them accountable, saying, hey, wait a second, it's not like a banana. Just for a couple of days after Fukushima, there was a few blew up in the media about apologists mitigating everything, mass murdering people by saying, go ahead, it's not an issue. Don't keep your kids in the house when the plume is coming through. You don't have to worry about it. It's like a banana. It's too far away. Think about this GMO lobbyist, Amanda Lane.
One danger that you'd face is we would just become immune to that label.
So if you're going to put labels on GMO, you become immune to it. You haven't got any idea how many times I strained my eyeballs trying to read what was on a label. But here, if you play it backwards,
Except that it's everywhere.
we're magic people, imagining mock you, yeah, something like that. I wrote it down there, what I can figure out of it. That should never make sense. That should never make a sentence. Neither should.
One danger that you'd face is we would just become immune to that label. We would accept that it's everywhere.
We would accept that it's everywhere. No, we would ask the question of why you didn't tell us it was everywhere. How did 96% of our supermarkets, minimum, if not 100%, bought a pizza the other day, just cheese on it, and it was 73% organic. had to have a pizza for some reason. I don't eat. I don't go into corner shops. I don't touch the nonsense as much as I can, but it's so hard to escape it. Because media doesn't tell us anything. The media doesn't help us. Think about the 600 pilots that died at Chernobyl.
It was heroism.
During this operation, 600 pilots are fatally contaminated with radiation. All of them will die. 600
pilots, you never heard that in the media? No, there's only 28 people died according to the United Nations. But United Nations is formed along with the IAEA and ERPA and all the radiation experts out there are just 100 people that are all on the same panels, on the international panels and everywhere else. So when they say international has a consensus, or the scientists have a consensus, they're not talking about the millions of scientists on the planet at the time, but the 100 that are on all the panels, on the same panels. And old, gross, disgusting maggots like Vetter from Berkeley, who's retired, that they keep rolling out for some reason that has been discredited. But the media won't discredit him. The media won't say he's not like a banana or a potato chip. That is the fallout from Chernobyl. I'm going to speed it up, fly through it. This was 10 days. Just 1/3 the size of any of the reactors in Japan. And so this spread all over the world. But they come out and tell you it's like iodine. And so naturally, you know iodine. It's in salt, it's in seaweed, it's in food. But the stuff that's coming out of the chain reaction is nothing like that. Never was, never will be. It might be similar to that, but it's all atomic. It's made completely from a chain reaction. There's not a single part of it that's not ionizing and radiating. But it's actually just a tracer. Just a tracer. The biggest producer would have been corium, which acts like plutonium or americium or neptunium, and they act really bad. If you looked at studies that Dr. Raymond Gilmedi, like I have, he got 94 on big old dogs and big old puppies. And so they tell you about iodine now for 70 years and cesium. That's it. And sometimes they'll mention a couple of other isotopes to make themselves stand out a little bit. Some bling bling. But they don't bother saying the words right after that these are tracers. How come? What's the big whoop about saying they're tracers? How can media even look their friends or families or loved ones in the face? How is that possible? Let's finish off those mutation headlines I was going through yesterday. I only got a couple of them left. There's only a dozen or two left. Forests may be evolving into different ecosystems. There's a sudden large change. Shooting nuclear waste. I might have had that one twice. A new wave of slightly radioactive water. The currents travel at 5 miles an hour, 24 hours a day, 45 days on the coastline. And the doses are extraordinary. They come over in the jet streams and wash right back down to your coastline and are re-liberated back in your communities immediately. And through the aerosoling of the coastline of the ocean waters, it's liberated the same way as salt. Chief Looking Horse at UN to speak about Fukushima crisis. Faced with chaos, disaster, diseases, and end of life as we know it is 100% right. 2013. Something very odd is happening in the Pacific. Used to be 2 sharks sighting a year, now it's 2 a day. It's because they're starving to death too. They're being driven into the coastline. They're massive. Even though people say they've been overhunted, and they have. They are prolific breeders. All of them are pregnant. All of them have pups inside of them. Sharks. It's pretty hard to cut open a shark and not find pups in them. I worked years ago in the dogfish industry, where you get 50,000 over 3 or 4 days, and you had to see it to believe it that every one of them are pregnant with fully formed sharks with a little sack onto them. They're popping those things out constantly. Used to be 2 sharks sighting a year, now it's 2 a day. Dogfish are small sharks, 2-3 feet. We're human guinea pigs in an experiment we're never forgive, TEPCO. I think I covered some of this. Plutonium releases from the plant highlighted. Yeah, we did. Let's shoot down a little bit further. Death and mutations increase sharply from exposure to Fukushima. See, media doesn't... Hang on one second. Right, media talks about radiation. They don't talk about people like this. They don't talk to people like that, and people like that don't talk to the media unless they're going to lie about it. And he did. He come out in the media and said there was no radiation going to make it from Japan because it's too far away. He forgot that the jet streams are real, I guess, but not really, because he's got 94 peer-reviewed studies. And curium, I'll bring that up in a smaller format, because we know these are stretched through pictures. So they've done studies on curium on beagle dogs and beagle puppies. Application of human exposure data is the major byproduct in radiated nuclear fuel rods. But yet the other monkey from coast to coast was telling you that the rods don't burn. This is the stupidest thing imaginable. But there he is doing it to people who don't know any better. And the media allowing him to get away with it. And George Norrie is massive. He's been around since Jesus was a baby. Since Vancouver Island was formed. He's talked to everything on the planet with 2 legs and a mouth. Toxicity of inhaled plutonium in beagle dogs. 144 dogs. Yoink. Look at your second sentence from the top. And just read down through that. You can come to The Beautiful Girl by Dana after and read it in very high quality. By the way, like I said earlier, we'll be streaming there starting tomorrow. And so today I'll be doing all kinds of tests on both sites. So please ignore that. And there's nothing I can do about it, whether you like it or not. I got to do it in order to make it work. So, but I'm letting you know in advance. I know some people get cranky because I'm posting a bunch of videos. And, you know, I might as well unsubscribe and fuck off right now, because I haven't got time for people like you. Lung tumors found in 46 dogs were the second most common cause of death. Liver tumors and bone tumors. Look at them. All the dogs died. No, Dana. No, Dana. No, the scientists don't say that on the stage, Dana. Hang on. Get rid of that. Bring up that. Get rid of that. Officials in the U.S. report very rare mutation in Pacific sea life. Never seen anything like it. Shocking bright blues, almost unnatural. Some of these stories I don't know about, but I can't remember, in other words, what I'm saying. But these were all based upon radiation. The majority of them, 90-odd% of them, would have been 100% indisputable radiation. Fukushima radiation causes serious biological effects. Major irreversible shift. High rates of abnormality and mortality. Severe damage to humans next. 2014, August. Groundbreaking study. Fukushima nuclear waste is poisoning wildlife. Up to 99% of the offsprings died after eating low-level food. Very high abnormality rate, including severe and rare deformities. 2014, September. Mutations in plants being reported after chronic Fukushima. Gigantic leaves, seeds very big after the disaster. 2014, Fukushima destroyed, I'm looking at too many screens. It destroyed our life. It can destroy history itself. Very hard to imagine future beyond Fukushima. It's so uncontainable. That's right. Meltdown opened up a fissure in time and space, and a horde of radiation menaces the future in the present. Yes, indeed. Seemingly benign virus on the west coast causing ecological upheaval, the likes of which we've never seen. Very peculiar. Different from all known viruses. Mutations can't be helping it spread. Something has recently caused it to grow rogue. We've never seen anything like it. Why now? What changed to allow the outbreak? Well, you have an extinction event in British Columbia, Canada, for starters. That's flushed out now. Special alert issued for major dams upstream. I'm not sure. I almost slipped in there. I wasn't part of it. It's important, but it's still just, it's not part of what I wanted to do. Fukushima, an apocalyptic disaster, will haunt future generations. World now in an experimental lab with humans as guinea pigs. Japan government report, which is disgusting anyway. Fukushima is worse than the 3/11 quake and the tsunami. And the quake. Worse may not be over from Fukushima. In 2015, effects of radiation become much more severe. Enormous decline seen in animal species, striking drop-off, really dramatic impacts due to the nuclear disaster. The mutations have begun in Fukushima. Birds found blind, unable to fly. Birds in tailspin 4 years. The proverbial canary in the coal mine. Birds with mutations popping up all over in contaminated areas. 2015, mutations increasing in Fukushima. Strange things are happening to plants and animals. Long list of mutated life forms reported. 2015. September 2015, mutations found in sea life along the west coast. Deformed spines, brains, hearts, eyes reported by the officials. Malformations include extra brains, lobes, hunchbacks, parts of face missing, unusual limbs. Parasites never seen before washing up on the west coast, finding unidentifiable creatures. New to science were worried. Scientists anticipated at Fukushima radiation will cause marine bacteria in the U.S. to mute. Now that's some scary stuff. And we've seen that. It was very rare. Plants with huge flowers and gigantic stems. 2015 December. I brought deformed vegetables from radiation measurements, but officials didn't test any in Yale. Don't you understand? We say it's safe. All the beetles were disfigured and died. Don't you understand? We say it's safe. Don't you understand? You say that to me and knock your teeth down your fucking throat. Nuclear nightmare. Children with mutations on almost every street. Deformed heads, lopsided bodies, toad skins, eyelids turned inside out. School built using radioactive waste, part of community outreach. This is how twisted the nuclear industry really is. Nuclear expert, exceptionally worrying. No one should have been living anywhere near there. This is not a joke. This is not a game. This industry is out of control. This industry has no one to rein it in. This industry has captured your institutions and your universities and your medias and your politicians and your public fucking pop singers and everything else. Get mad in a second. Mutation in nearly every fir tree by Fukushima. Insects with missing legs or crooked legs. Abnormalities in monkeys, fish, frogs. Tokyo radiation continuously high since raining. August 18. What, do you think it's going to go away? You think they're going to go and dig it all off, huh? You think it only smiling is going to help you or something? Do you think they would put their own children in this environment? Do you understood? Bacteria versus nuclear waste. Scientists finds microorganisms may threaten the storage of radioactive waste. The devastating physical and genetic effects of Japan nuclear disaster revealed. All mutant butterflies were caught far outside the Fukushima zone. 2012. We're almost through them. Deformities, yellow rain, metallic taste, note. Freaky mutant bugs, 2012. Prefecture's border in Fukushima. Because people are led to believe that radiation and the jet streams and everything else are not fucking real. Emergency research underway in Japan because the media is fucking disgusting. But here's all the stuff the media could have said, hey, wait a second, there's something else going on here. Look at all these reports. They come out and report, but they don't fucking go back to it. They don't bring it up in the next story or any other stories. They just gloss over like it did. Fuck it. Emergency research underway in Japan after birds found with perplexing. Really? Like you weren't expecting it? Never reported in 500,000 exams done before 3/11. Now observed at every site across the country. Over 1,000 kilometers away included. Fukushima destroyed our life. It can destroy history. And agreed. It's very hard to imagine the future. We covered that one. We're almost through it. Mutant fish with giant tumors growing for the head outside of 3 Mile Island. I'm not going to go into 3 Mile Island rant right now, but unrecognizable pathogens detected in species is very, very serious. Lesions found at an alarming rate, which is one of the first manifestations no one bothers looking for. Almost 70% of the males have female eggs and testicles. We're waiting to catch one with 3 eyes. I'm sure they did. I'm sure I read that one. People were taken from movie theaters by police, forced to go in a reactor and deal with burning fuel rods. We played that video a number of times from a documentary. But there's 5,000 workers on that site. How come they didn't go in first? Why did they go out there and do that? Why did they go steal people from theaters and off the streets and everywhere else? Women, minorities, homeless, and prisoners used by the industry for most dangerous work. That's been ongoing. But they do that through contractors. But Fukushima has showed us a new level of soulless and remorseless and no checks and balances whatsoever by kidnapping Shanghai and the immigrants who don't speak the language and the homeless off the streets. But this is what they've done throughout history. And the media is to blame for that. Your media is to be blamed for that. That's your media's fault that this happened. It's your media's fault that it continues to happen. It's your media's fault that they even exist. It's your media's fault that they're not called out. It's your media's fault. It's the people that write about nuclear and tell you it's like a banana that are the most disingenuous, the most loathsome people imaginable. These are the most scariest people to have for a neighbor. To have in your city. Your journalist is the most scariest thing you would want. You would never want a journalist for a neighbor. It's the last thing you want. I'm showing you media that was reported on by journalists. But if you go look at the rest of their stories on Fukushima, bananas and potato chips forever after. But they put out stories like this to give themselves a feel-good day, to give themselves a little bit of credibility. That's it. They don't refer to it ever again. They don't show it in their faces. They don't hold it up and say, look here, Mr. Nuclear Puke Machine, that's a fucking lie, here's the truth. We covered that before. Why are you telling us these lies again? Why are you continuing to do that? No, because their boss will beat the shit out of them and throw them out a fucking window. If they did grow a backbone and try to do something like that. Not that they got backbones, they got to grow it first. Plant abnormalities can be reduced after 24 hours of exposure. And Christina Consolo has got a stupid amount of data on this. I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in an incredible way, in an inconceivably important way. Look, Dana's not accredited media. Go fucking shut up. I could discredit any media on the planet with the lies they told. Not just about nuclear, but about everything else. I challenge any media on the planet to put me up against James Hansen or any other fucking lapdogs. I'll be civil. Just don't put me next to him, because I'll rip his fucking head off your shoulders if I get close to him. Plant abnormalities can be induced after 24 hours. No, Dana, scientists said it's like bananas and potato chips. It's science is settled, Dana. Fuck off. Japan reporter. Mutations increasing in Fukushima. Fukushima disaster victims include 600,000 deaths. If you're lucky. There's 1 million already gone down there that they don't bother explaining away. Over 100,000 stillborns. They haven't even reported on a single one. We know that's going on constantly. And we know that children are being born with genetic deformities, but they're not going to report on it. There's a blackout. The nuclear industry controls Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all these other fucking idiots, these moronic inbreeds that have sucked you in there. But we got no choice. They got the system, we got to use it. We got to use it to our advantage. Record of human deformities in stillbirths after Fukushima yet to be published. But preparing data 2012. Still fucking waiting. And people say, oh, that's just Japan, Dana. It went outside Japan, Dana. It never affected anybody, Dana. No, because you can't see it. If you can see it like that, you get it. It looked like that. But you see, corrosion current at 5 miles an hour. 45 days. 24 hours a day, 45 days. Here's a model. France. Just based upon 2 days releases from Unit 2. Not from Unit 1 meltdown. Not from the meltdown of Unit 2. Not from the loss of the inventory at Unit 2, which is millions and millions of pounds. Not from all of these models. None of these models are showing you. That's hitting North America right now, British Columbia, Canada, right there, California, and getting like right across America, right across the Pacific, right across the Atlantic. Hello, Switzerland and Norway and France and Iceland. And like, do you think because the model might stop after so many days that stopped? Do you think that stopped? Imagine if that was a snowstorm right across your ocean, right across your country. Would you fucking get it then? And your kid, your loved ones was driving across the country, would you get it then? And they were driving in a little fucking sports car with no snow tires? Would you get it then? And it didn't stop for the next fucking 1,000 years. Would you get it then? Does that look like a fucking banana hitting your coastlines? Does that look like fucking potato chips to you? Does that look like it's walking in sunshine? Let's look at it a little bit later. No, Dana, there's only a little bit fell in the ocean, Dana. No, Dana, there's only a little bit fell on land. Most of it fell in the ocean, Dana. No matter how you try to spin this, it washes back down to the coastlines. The tidal pools are the most vulnerable part of the ocean. I done that whole coastline in this little boat. Look at it. 15,000 fucking miles. Big deal, right? Who cares? Nobody cares. No academics, no scientists. It used to look like that. We don't care, Dana, that it looks like this now. Same spot. When it used to look like that. It used to look like that. No. Every square inch was jostling for life. The whole fucking coastline is naked. That's up at the nuclearproctologist. .org. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I don't know how to do it. Sometimes. Not that I'm going to give up anytime soon, but I just don't know what else I'm supposed to do. That's what it looked like pre-Fukushima. Post-Fukushima, fucking starved to death. Look at that. I took those pictures. Does that matter to anybody in the media? Does it matter that all that is no longer, will never be there again, and that is naked, and that the other 4 million species, this is a great big fucking island, a pinch point. The current flies through there, pure oxygen. It's the most coveted spot in North America. People from all over the world brought their yachts out there every year to see the incredible wildlife. Never again. They won't do it no more. There's nothing there. And the 4 million other species didn't bother receding the coastline. Does that matter? That all of that coastline would look like that at low tide? Does that matter that that's all gone now? And that the 4 million other species didn't bother even fucking coming in there? Does that? When every square millimeter would look like that, and that was fucking naked, a few little tiny bit of muscles here and there, they're not going to survive. They're babies. How can we ignore that? How can we turn our backs on this? How can we say that that's not real? How can we pretend that the pictures I took on that coastline are not significant? How can anybody who ever looked at that not miss that? How can you not hang your head in fucking despair and humiliation, knowing that is the end of that? That will never be again. And it's all because of a stupid fucking industry that survived because of media, that couldn't exist without the media. They used the media as a predatory, so that when I went out there and looked at that whole coastline and seen nothing but carnage throughout the whole fucking coastline, but yet they report that 200 miles of coastline, oh well, the sea urchins are all gone. I go out and do the whole fucking coastline and nobody gives a fuck. And I put that documentation up at the nuclearproctologist.org. 1,000, 2,000 pictures a day, 3,000 pictures a day with the GPSs of the whole fucking coastline, showing an extinction event symmetrically throughout the coastline. No one gives a fuck in the media about it. Everybody's like, fuck you, Dana, you piece of shit. How dare you come out and talk about Raymond Gilmedy? How dare you show what he done to beagle dogs and beagle puppies when we never talk about that? We never put that in the equation. We never want people to consider that. Dana, you're fucking us up. We got cushy, stupid, moronic, idiotic, useless fucking pedigrees and degrees and academics to tell us what we're going to say. We're not going to go out and flush it out. Right? Unless we're attacking you, Dana, then we'll flush it all out. We'll find out everything you've ever done, Dana, if you've done something. We're going to use it to bludgeon you to fucking death. And if you get arrested like I did, instead of telling the truth, we're going to say you're charged with death threats in the fucking media throughout your country, so your loved ones will turn against you, so your friends will turn against you, so your country will turn against you. Because we are that powerful, Dana. We'll have a judge ban potato chips and walking in sunshine as your defense. What's made you upset, Dana? We'll humiliate you and destroy you. We'll defund you, Dana. We'll bankrupt you. We'll drag you across just 12 fucking Furies and 12 hotel rooms and just 3,000 kilometers of driving to deal with. And I still got 2 court cases ahead of me, and I've been bankrupt. The line before that. But you know, this is happening to me because of media. This is happening to you because of media. The death of the Pacific Ocean is because of the media. Because we don't get an opportunity. Because their legacy is they fucked us the best way they could by just tricking and deceiving and constantly repeating the ad hominems, by trying to humiliate anybody trying to have a conversation, demonize and vilify him, and keep that alive and keep throwing that back up every time that he gets any traction. And roll out the puke, the disgusting, maniacal fucking puke machine to torment everything out there, to demonize us and everybody else. And usually people would give up a long time ago. Anybody got attacked like me would have probably gave up a long time ago. But I don't know what that word is. I don't have it built into my DNA. It's not there. I'm waiting for him to come kill me, because I'm not going away. Even if they crash, I mean, they killed 10 computers in a little over a year. I mean, it made me take down 300 of these presentations, showing you documentation, showing you the information, coming out and trying to have a conversation, trying to wrap your mind around what was going on, how it worked, who was involved, how they got away with it, how are they doing it, what is the lie, identifying the lie. It took us a couple of months just to identify the reactors. Down in my YouTube videos, you can download 2,000 pictures linked to TEPCO's website. There's 4 million emails right there linked to that from the NRC. Most of it's redacted, but they're there. So much information on so many people down below my video. I haven't changed my links in a long, long time. There's no room left there for anybody else, unfortunately. I've got it all used up, and I shortened everything the best I could to squeeze in another one or two. Just so people, it's not me. See, I bring you everybody in the context of what you're familiar with, and then I go ahead and flush out the lie and beat myself up with my headphone jacks. And tomorrow I start working, the rest of the day I'll be working twice as hard to get 2 streams up tomorrow. I'll probably have to do the same thing the next day to get another stream, because I can do 3 streams at the one time with the equipment I got. I just don't know how to do it. I can't get it to work. It's not that I haven't tried. Every weekend I wear myself out trying to survive the weekend where I come out and smashing people apart with videos. Just so I can finally get a break. 260 days on the ocean, 15,000 miles, come ashore, get arrested and demonized and vilified and dragged all over the fucking province to go to court and just attacked relentlessly. The biggest problem is I'm defunded. It's really, I can't raise the money that I need to build this organization, to reach any kind of potential that I it's just me, see? That's the way I feel, right? I feel I have to do that. I feel that onus, that obligation, that I'm obligated to do that. I feel that I have to. I not only feel that, I dream about it. I dream about it. It's bizarre land. That I'm going to take these fuckers on and I'm going to win. Something, I don't know, just common sense that the media will finally come out and call out the nuclear industry. Maybe that's what it is. I think I'll win. It's not that I'll win. You can't win doing what I'm doing. You can never have a normal life doing what I'm doing. You can never have a life after doing what I'm doing. And you can't get, and does that mean I give up? Of course not. Does that mean I don't, what it means is I try harder, I study harder, I listen to more lectures, I absorb more, I listen to it more times, I read it more often. And I search for someone out there like me that has the the gumption or the tenacity or the willpower or the knowledge or the capacity or the soul or the heart. I don't know. I don't find that. Then that drives me to do the things I do. And I don't want to do. I don't like doing what I'm doing. I can't stand doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't do anything else because this is an event. We got no option. And I don't know how to do anything else until I see that change of pattern, that change of weather, the change of calling these people out, the change of having a debate, the change of just telling the fucking truth in context and repeating it again and for the next one, and then bringing up the context in the next story and bringing up the context again in the next story. Instead of just bringing out a story and telling the truth and then bring out 100 writers at AEP to tell you a lie. Right, suck you in with a bit of truth and then fill you up with a bunch of nonsense. Oh, there's 1 ton in the reactors. The spent fuel rods don't catch fire. It's like getting on an airplane flying to Tokyo was worse than the reactors. Why don't you go to fuck in there and clean it up? See, the journalists should got up during that press at the Washington Press Club, should have got up and walked out on these people, right, that I showed you earlier. How can you look at what happened and say it's like a banana is the problem? And I just I'm not going to keep repeating myself. I'll give it up. I'm just so frustrated. And I got so much work ahead of me now because I got YouTube. And like my YouTube account, I had a strike on my account when I got out of jail. I was arrested for 2 videos on my account. Let me end it on that. For what I said in 2 videos. For just a statement. But they didn't get a court order to take down those videos. They used ghost accounts the day I was in jail for 12 hours to knock those off my site, and that gave me a strike on my account. That wasn't a court order. That was ghost accounts while I was in jail to take down the very 2 videos that I was charged with. Because I'm not the bad guy, and the judge knew that. They tried to have me arrested in 2014 twice. Once in January and once in September as I was starting for life that same month, right? They tried to have me arrested and they were turned down. And then they succeeded. They had 2 more accounts against me for 2015 while I was on the ocean. While I was on the ocean doing the expeditions. When it was over, I came ashore, they had me arrested. But they didn't use a court order to take down the video. They did use a court order to have me arrested and drag me through the grinder, which I'm still going through every day, even though people don't realize that or appreciate it or understand what that does to me every day and how that stops me. I can't talk about the monster from University of Victoria in British Columbia. I can't mention their name at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. I'm not allowed to talk about them. They will let me out on probation if I would plead guilty, as long as I wouldn't talk about those 2 people. As long as I wouldn't say that they're lawyers for saying it's like a banana. Not that I can, because the judge says I can't. That the science is settled. And so I feel like I'm by myself all the time. I feel like I'm alone. I feel like I'm up against an army all day, every day. I feel like I'm stalked and that everything about me is monitored 24/7 and that people have meetings every day about how they're going to fuck me over so they can get a paycheck again next week. That's the reality. That is exactly what is happening, though. And so hugs for everybody. I'm just going to let it go with that. I'll be working, reposting today, this, and then I'll be doing live streams, trying to keep up with it. Trying to get the YouTube to work. So tomorrow will be 2 streams, and hopefully it'll be a better mood. Hugs for everybody. Take care, folks. We'll see everybody tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Take care.